Have you noticed that we've reached the point where telling someone the truth is considered offensive? Today, people would rather lose a friend than have an uncomfortable conversation. We've mistaken acceptance for love, silence for loyalty, and approval for friendship. But scripture paints a very different picture. Proverbs says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Think about that. The person who always agrees with you isn't necessarily your greatest friend. Sometimes they are simply protecting their own comfort. The friend who risks making you uncomfortable because they want you to become better, that is love. One of the greatest examples of this is King David. David wasn't just struggling. He had committed adultery, arranged a murder, and then continued ruling as though nothing had happened. The frightening part wasn't just his sin, it was the silence around him. No one said anything. Everyone watched, everyone knew, everyone stayed quiet until Nathan arrived. Nathan didn't come to embarrass David. He didn't come to prove he was more righteous. He came because he loved the king too much to watch him destroy himself. He told David a story. David judged the man in the story without realizing he was judging himself. Then Nathan looked at him and said, "Oh, unforgettable words, you are the man." Imagine the courage that took. He risked his position. He risked his relationship with the king. He risked his own safety because restoration was more important than comfort. That is what accountability looks like. Real accountability isn't policing someone's life. It isn't looking for faults. It isn't constantly pointing out mistakes. Real accountability is caring enough about someone's future that you're willing to have the uncomfortable conversation everyone else is avoiding. Unfortunately, many men have rejected accountability because they've only experienced criticism. They've been shamed instead of restored, corrected with pride instead of compassion, controlled instead of loved. But biblical accountability isn't about making someone feel small. It's about calling them back to who God created them to be. Every man needs at least one Nathan, someone who can celebrate your victories, but also stop you when you're walking towards destruction. But here is the truth. The man who cannot be corrected eventually becomes the man who cannot be trusted. Not because he lacks intelligence, but because he has become unteachable. Growth stops the moment correction becomes an enemy. And there's another challenge. Don't spend all your life looking for a Nathan if you're unwilling to become one. Be the friend who speaks truth with humility. Be the brother who protects people from silent destruction. Not every relationship is deep enough for that kind of honesty. But somewhere in your life, there should be one or two people who've earned the right to tell the truth, even when it hurts. And you should be that person to someone else. Because accountability isn't about controlling people. It's about loving them enough to refuse to watch them lose themselves. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't encouragement. It's a difficult conversation. So here is my advice. Don't measure your friendships by how comfortable they make you. Measure them by whether they make you better. Because wounds from a trusted friend may hurt for a moment, but silence from people who claim to love you can destroy an entire future. My name is Ike Ojibe, and this is my unsolicited advice.